Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody's having a great Thursday morning so far. You heard the music, so now you know it's time for the workplace here on KABF 88.3 FM, Voice of the People Community Radio. Like I said, I hope everybody's having a great Thursday morning so far. It's good to be in studio, and as always, I'm in the studio with my uh, co-host, the Reverend Dr. Denise Donnell. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to thank all of you for tuning in this morning. You could be doing a whole lot of other things, but you chose to tune in to the workplace this morning and tune in to KABF 88.3 FM. As always, the workplace is underwritten and sponsored by United Labor Unions Local 100 for the people, by the people. And so before we get started, I want to give Denise an opportunity to greet all of you and see if she has any announcements.
I see you have announcements too. Are yours from Dana?
Yes.
Okay, so then about dental service and stuff like that.
I just have the one for curating the future.
Okay, so Grand Rising Humans, I do have a couple of announcements from the Little Rock City and want to make sure that you are aware of these. So this is one for free dental services for veterans. If you are a veteran, there are free dental services available for you on Friday, November 3rd. And these services are available in Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Jonesboro, and Arkadelphia. There are free dental services for veterans. Friday, November 3rd. That is not tomorrow, but the next Friday in Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Jonesboro, and Arkadelphia. If you need more information about this, please contact us right here at the studio. I think you all know the number to the studio because we say it so much, 501-433-0088. The number in the office is 501-372-6119. We also have this number, 501-682-6487. I'm not expecting you to know that one as much, so you can call us and we can give you the information that you need about Operation Stand Down, free dental services for veterans. Also want you to know that there is an opportunity for you to submit a proposal for Imagine for the Little Rock School District. The deadline is also that same Friday, not tomorrow, but November 3rd. Optimizing our tomorrow. How do we reimagine the Little Rock School District? So proposals are being accepted for that. Again, if you want more information, hit us up here at the studio. You can hit me up directly at 228-236-7440. 5:30 p.m. is that deadline on next Friday, November 3rd, for reimagining the Little Rock School District. And Domino's in the Park happens tomorrow at 5 p.m. right here at Petaway Park on 21st Street.
And I have an announcement. It's called Curating the Future 2023. It's going to be at the Youth Center at University Park next Friday, this Friday, October 27th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The keynote speaker will be Mike Rogers, who is State of Arkansas Chief Workforce Officer. He's going to be the keynote speaker. It's going to be a day of networking, panel discussions, and lightning talks. A strategic conversation about stimulating workforce development in Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's going to be at the center at University Park, 6401 West 12th Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72204. That's Friday, October 27th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Want to say a special good morning to Charles Mugaga. Yes, I see you online. Good morning, Denise and Toney Orr. You look fresh with the sweetest accents to the children. Thank you. We are watching from Kids Gear Junior School in Kampala, Uganda. So glad to be with you. I'm just tickled that you all think we have an accent, because if we heard you all talk from Uganda, we would think that you all have the accent. So thank you all so much for joining us. I cannot wait to get there in February. Woo, woo. Yeah. I'm going to see those children. Thank you all for being with us.
Yes, and so before we get into our discussion and conversation this morning, I just want to take a moment. One of my, growing up, one of my heroes has passed away. Richard Roundtree, who, for those of you who are my age, and maybe I'm going to say just my age, but a lot of people knew him as John Shaft. And growing up, he was arguably the first Black action hero on the big screen. Gordon Parks, who was a writer, a producer, a photographer, he was one of the first Black directors and producers, along with Berry Gordy, that was able to get these a major studio to put a Black film, to get a Black film scene. And Shaft is Isaac Hayes, who actually won an Oscar for the score and the theme song for the movie Shaft. There's one part that said, that cat Shaft is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. And he was such a hero to so many of us because we had never seen, especially as kids, we never seen on the screen, on TV, someone that could, that would talk to white people the way Shaft did, that we had never seen that on the screen. And so it was my heart just, my heart is sad in his passing because, like I said, he was a hero to so many of us growing up. We even had, the Black, we had the brown trench coat. We started wearing turtlenecks, because of Richard Roundtree. So just want to take a moment, have a moment of silence in his passing. Thank you. In fact, it was actually 3 movies he did with the Shaft character. It was Shaft, then it was Shaft's Big Score, and then it was Shaft in Africa. And so I still remember those movies very vividly. I still remember the soundtracks so vividly. It was just the fact that they had this bigger than life action hero who was Black on the screen. Also, yesterday there was another, and I think we have grown numb to this, that when you hear about a mass shooting in Maine, in Lewiston, Maine, it's like it's like a nonchalant thing now. Oh, there's another mass shooting. 22 people were killed, were murdered at a bowling alley and a bar. The suspect is purportedly was a U.S. Army reservist, trained, firearms trained, and was actually committed to a mental health institution for a couple of months this summer and released. And it's so sad that nobody wants to, at least in our government, wants to talk about some type of gun control, some type of way to stop these killings. And the minute you start talking about it, the first thing that comes up is this, this Second Amendment rights, and so something has to be done. I think with the NRA, I think their whole thing is that, hey, just arm everybody, and I don't think that's an answer, but I do think that we should find a way that people can be protected. Yesterday, so getting into our discussion, normally we talk about work-related issues, we talk about workplace issues, we talk about jobs, but there are times when the what's going on in the world becomes more important or more relevant. And so I think today we want to talk about not only what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on with Israel and Hamas, but also we need to talk about the complicity of the U.S. and how we are supporting this and how we are framing this. Yesterday, I sat in on Speak Up Arkansas show where the host had two women from who grew up in Palestine and who still have relatives in the Gaza Strip. But also we had Marquis Hunt who talked about his book, The New Human. For those of you who know Marquis, he does a show here on KABF on Monday, Mr. Mood. But also, he is an author. And like I said, we've had him on the show talking about his book, The New Human. And there was a point where he said yesterday that, we have to learn to love through he was talking about reaction. He said most of the time that people react to a certain act or react to something that's being done to them. And because we react, it causes us to get caught up in that, in that same cycle that we want to do to you what you did to me. And he was talking about we have to get out of that reaction. And it was interesting because when the Palestinian women started talking, they were like, this reaction that you're talking about, this has been going on this is not, I said, Hamas didn't jump up on October 7th and say, hey, we're going to attack Israel. No, this has been building for over 75 years. And, when you talk about the reaction, I believe that, I understood what he was saying, but I also understand that you can only take so much and you can only put up with so much. How much do you, when it comes to loving and when it comes to being, as they say, humble and letting things play out, how much do you take? How much do you have to deal with before that happens? And then, you also have to think about and talk about our tax dollars. Let me think about that. When I said that we're not going to be talking about work and everything, but it's impossible not to, because we're paying workers to make these weapons that we give to other countries to destroy or fight other people. And so when you think about it like that, because the weapons Israel has, they get from us. And more than likely, the weapons that Hamas has, they get from us. Because we are the world's largest weapons dealers. And so the conversation this morning is about, how do we come to grips, or how do we come to understand that what we're doing as a country is influencing so many other aspects of this world, and how do we stop it? How do we stop it? How do we I guess what I'm asking is, when do we
stand up and say, you know what? All this money we're spending wherever in military aid and destroying other places. Why is that money not coming? Why are we not using that money to facilitate better here? Why are we not standing up and saying, let's quit spending billions of dollars other places and let's spend it here? Arkansas ranks the worst in food insecurity, but we continue to send money out of the pockets and the mouths of people and send it somewhere else. I know there's a lot of things I said in this opening. There's a lot of things on my mind, a lot of different points I was trying to make. But I guess the biggest point, like I said, is how do we stop this? What do we need to do to stop all this carnage that's going on, not only in other places, but in our own backyard? Any comments, Denise?
Well, I want to go back. I want to go all the way back to when you made the comment about nobody wants to talk about gun violence or passing laws, sensible gun laws. And I don't think that's a true statement. I think there are plenty of people in the legislature who want to talk about passing sensible gun laws. I think there are plenty of people. I think that we are dominated right now by the Republican Party, who doesn't want to have the conversation because the need for them to bear arms is rooted in racism. And when we look at some of these mass shootings, the majority of them are committed by young white men, the majority of them. And then a lot of them are, the purpose for them is to start a race war, because they're still waiting for this opportunity for the South in particular to rise again. Because I think there's some kind of phrase, wherever the South goes, so the rest of the country goes, or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it is. And so there are several people who are attracted to whiteness, who are motivated by the system of white humanity, who don't want to pass sensible gun laws because they need their guns to fight black bodies in particular. And so I want to make sure I say that, because I don't think it's fair to say nobody wants to talk about the gun laws in America, because I just don't think that is true. So I wanted to say that in particular. And then I wanted to say something about Mark was saying that many of us are operating in our reactions. And so basically you're saying we're guided by our emotions. And when our emotions are high, we don't make sensible decisions. And I just want to push back on that, because when you think about what's happening in Israel, when you think about what's happening between Israel and Hamas, as the Palestinian women who are living the experience of what it means to be Palestinian, in particular in America, with all the hypocrisy that Americans embody, that it is not fair. I don't even want to say not fair. That's not even, I want to be more harsh than that. It is ridiculous to say, oh, somebody just got mad because of what you did to me today, and so now I'm coming for you. No, we need to think about the history of our world and how we treat people. And then you are surprised when somebody finally says, enough is enough. You are not going to continue to treat me like this. I am going to raise up, and I am going to stand up for myself, for my people, for my community. And if you say, well, that's not love, then we would have to go back to having that same conversation of what is love. Because I feel like what Marcus is saying to us about this love is couched in this whole forgiveness thing, this whole kumbaya movement. And that is not what it means to love. What it means to love is that I'm not even going to harm you, because I don't want to be harmed. I'm going to treat you the way that I want to be treated. And so love means that I'm going to, first of all, have respect for your humanity. And if that's the definition, then we wouldn't even be here having these conversations about how do we stop the violence. We stop the violence, first of all, by stop being so hypocritical, and by understanding that everyone needs to be celebrated simply because they are human. Let me get this comment in from Phyllis Brown. Mental illness is the new go-to blame as the fundamental cause of mass murders. The United States, the only country with more civilian firearms than people, the gun culture has contributed to the more than 100 mass shootings that have occurred in the U.S. so far this year. And I'm not sure people are hearing us, because Deidre says we are echoing. And I know I heard the buzz in my own headphones, so it says that we are echoing.
Okay.
So I agree with Phyllis Brown. I was going to get to that point too. Like when you mentioned that the young man who killed the people in Maine, he had been in a mental institution a couple of months ago. Like, what does that have to do with this, right? Like, to declare or to even associate mental illness, to say that people who are participants, who are perpetrators of mass murders, oh, they must be mentally ill. Again, that's a lie. It's part of a false narrative that we want to push so that you can continue to justify the guns. Well, we just don't want these bad actors. See, he was sick. That's why he did this. And that is not the case at all. And so I just wanted to make sure that I start right there. I know I haven't answered your question because I just wanted to come back and make some comments over some of the things that you've said already.
Okay, and I do agree with you on that one point.
I think in this country, I think people
always try to figure out
a justification
for
what is going on and what they're doing.
And mental illness has become that justification. Mental illness, everything is being blamed on mental illness, and even when they start talking about gun laws, and the reason I said nobody wants to have the conversation is even those people who are trying to have some type of gun laws, it gets to a point where even they just say, well, you know, and not all of them, but especially our elected officials, most of them, they get to a point where they will say, okay, we'll do a compromise. And the compromise is, okay, we'll have this red tag, or we'll have this, we'll come up with this law that, you know, that says that if you are mentally unstable, that you can't purchase a gun. Instead of coming up with a law that says, hold up, you know, we don't need automatic weapons. They should ban automatic weapons. Who, you know, what homeowner needs an automatic weapon? You know, you don't need an AR-15. Well, I use it for hunting. What are you hunting? You know, the only thing you're going to hunt with an AR-15 is people. You're not out there hunting rabbits. So I think what happens is that it becomes this compromise, and once you compromise, and then you still have the same issue.
But that's what politics is. If you've got different parties with different agendas and you want them to come and reach some kind of consensus, the only way to consensus is through compromise. How else do you get there?
And like I said, that's part of the problem, because you never.
How do we cut the ringer off?
Call you on there.
Good morning. You know, what really frustrates me is whenever somebody's wife does something like that, they say that he was mentally ill. And when black people push up, he was like, they don't tell us why Pookie shot the front or whatever name, you know? And I just have a thought. You had the song that nailed to the song release. They kind of said he had to do drums, but they didn't really emphasize that. And as you can see, these people know the value of black people in these countries, because look how they let us go so quickly. Now, a white person goes over there, and I don't understand why white people go in Iran, Korea, places in Russia, and get caught. But they know the value that America places on black people. That's why they get rid of America is, we want to spend $4 billion in aid Ukraine. Someone said that on every last one appropriated war. How can we pay for it?
Yeah, because I think it's interesting. Wait, let me get this point in from Deidre. At this point, every marginalized person needs fair and equal arms. At this point, every marginalized person needs fair and equal arms. I don't disagree with you on that at all. My argument is not that we don't need the right to bear arms. That is not my argument at all. But my argument is about echoing something that Tony said about the kind of weapons that we have and what the purpose is for them. I do think that there should be some regulation on that for sure. But it's interesting because when we talk about reparations and we have this conversation, particularly with white legislators, their go-to justification for not supporting reparations is they can't figure out how to make it happen. They can't figure out what the number would be. They can't figure out what it would look like. They can't figure out where the resources would come from. It just seems to be something that is insurmountable in their minds in order to make it happen. Like, who do we give it to? How do we figure out who the black people are? Like, how do we trace the ancestors? Like, so many questions that they cannot seem to answer. They can't figure it out when we're talking about reparations. But these aid packages to Ukraine or to Israel, the arms, it happens, it doesn't take them long at all to figure out how to respond in this time of crisis. And so it goes back to what do you want to do? What are you willing to do? And we're willing to help Israel, and we're willing to give them these arms, we're willing to give them this money. And the question is why? Follow the money. There is a benefit for America to be on the side of Israel, and we have to ask that question.
I think another thing we also have to look at is one of the things that was said on Speak Up yesterday was that when it comes to we talk about humanitarian aid, we talk about being human, we talk about this human concept, and when it came down to it, not only last week where the UN had a resolution on the table to get humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, but also they had this conversation this week, and Israel has said, we're going to exterminate them. We want to exterminate, they said Hamas, but basically, if this is the organization that the Palestinian people have voted to run their country or run their land, then basically you're saying that everybody is Hamas, and you're not, and you don't care. And it said we want to exterminate them. And when I heard those words, the first thing I thought about was this country, because you tried to exterminate. That's the words they would use when it came to indigenous people, Native American Indians. We want to exterminate them. Exterminate them. We want to get, they just said the only dead Indian is the only good Indian is a dead Indian. And they say the same thing about black bodies. We want to exterminate them any type of way we can.
That is the system.
Of white inhumanity.
And when you look at it,
in a broader sense,
that's what's being
played out over the world. Because nobody, we don't get aid.
Since Kamala Harris
went to Africa, she did an Africa tour, and she spoke at several African countries, and she said that the United States is going to give you aid. We're going to support you. We're going to help you. She got so much backlash since she got back. Have you heard from Kamala Harris? Not a word. I haven't even seen her. I'm like, is she still vice president? It was so much pushback. Even people in the Senate and the Congress said she doesn't speak for the U.S. She's the vice president of the United States, but she can't even speak. She can't say anything. And so it goes back. It goes back to, this word where it's thrown out there, humanistic or humanitarian or human, but it doesn't play out like that. And we need to understand that. It's a concept that sounds great, but it's a pie in the sky.
And so I think that's why we need to stop asking the question, why? Like, why do we spend this money over here? Like, why? As if we don't know why. It is all rooted in racism. Why do we spend all this money in another country? Because we are, rather than spending it at home, because we're not concerned about the bodies here. Like, we don't have to ask that question. to me, we don't have to ask that question. It doesn't make sense to keep asking the why as if we don't know. And it doesn't make sense for Black people to keep being surprised at these conversations when we say, wait a minute, you do realize that what we're watching with Israel and Hamas is a parallel to what you are living in America. The question for me becomes, when are you going to wake up? Because everything that you need to know is right in front of you. It's in a book. You can read it. Now you can watch it. Now we got tidbits on podcasts. Now we got little bitty mini bites on TikTok. There's so much information for you to know and understand your condition to where you don't have to keep asking why. You have to ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? So when Deidre says you need to have your fair arms, you need to have your arms, it's a reason why you need to be armed. When Phyllis Brown says you don't need to try to blame this on mental health because that's a distraction from what you need to do. You need to be ready because we are living in war times. Just because it's happening in Israel does not mean it's not happening in America in the very same way with a different look.
And I want to tell you something else. That we did a show several months ago. I don't know how long, it may have been last year, where the conversation, it was on Community Voices, where the conversation was rooted in the movie Sister Act 2 with Sister Act 2, and the song was, the phrase was, if you want to be somebody and go somewhere, you have to wake up and pay attention. So there's a lot of things that happen that we don't pay attention to. We gloss over it. Arkansas is, when it comes to war, Arkansas is one of those places that is so important, so important. And a lot of people, when they read about something, they're happy about the jobs, they're happy about these companies, but they're not looking deeper. 5 years ago, there was an appropriation for the state of Arkansas, and pushed by our senators and our representatives. Camden, Arkansas is one of the largest manufacturers of rockets and other different armament in this country. I mean, it's Northrop Grumman, and I think I forget the other company. They have just a sprawling complex where they make these weapons. 5 years ago, there was an appropriation for almost $20 billion to expand. You're like, why they're expanding? And the first thing you're like, oh, we're bringing in jobs. We're bringing in jobs. But okay, yeah, but why are you expanding? What? It's got to be, you just don't spend that type of money to build more weapons, to expand to build more weapons without a reason behind it. What is the strategy behind it? And so when the other day, I was watching all these rockets fly back and forth, and I'm like, oh, I can see why now. Because there are things that happen. And don't think for a minute that people say, well, oh, they caught Israel off guard. No, they didn't. You don't catch Israel off guard. Israel has one of the deepest, most complex intelligence systems, and probably the best in the world. They don't get caught off guard. Unless they want to. Unless they want this to happen. And so if we don't stop and look sometimes, we don't wake up and pay attention to all these other little nuances, then we get caught off guard. And then it becomes something else. So we need to start, and we talk about this all the time, we need to take away some distractions. We need to stop being distracted over some other things and start looking at what's here in this state. We're distracted with what Governor Huckabee Sanders is doing with her lectern. It's not by accident that she's bringing up talking about these words that need to be taken out of state government. It's hiding the fact that, like I said, we rank worst in food insecurity. It takes away from the fact that it slipped in that now you have to have 75 hours of community service to graduate high school. It's these little things that keep us from looking at the bigger picture. And that's one thing we do need to do is stand up and start paying attention.
Let me get these comments in before I say something. So Phyllis Brown says, yes, it is all rooted in racism. It's rooted in white nationalist ideology. And we use that term white nationalist a lot. We hear people use it a lot. And I'm not sure that people are really taking the time to decipher what that means. We say white nationalist. There are a group of people, there's a whole movement, there's a whole campaign that says that white people should have, this should be their nation. This is a white nation. So everything that it takes, exterminate people, murder people, annihilate people, whatever we have to do to make this a white nation. Anyway, to bring the time.
Call you. No, you got the wrong number.
You got the wrong number. No, Mr. Jones here.
Okay, wait. I saw a few days ago about coming up.
Listen, what you can do,
take this number down. Okay.
You told me to come up around 11 o'clock on Thursday. So is that still good?
Yes. If I told you that, yes.
Okay, tell me your name again.
My name is Tony.
Tony. Okay, you work down to Tony.
Okay.
All right, my name is Al. I'll be there.
Maybe you should give people the 372-6119 number for business. But white nationalist ideology is about white people, the system of white inhumanity, believing that America is a white nation. And whatever it takes for us to control this nation as white people, whatever it takes, that's what we are willing to do. And so these conversations that we are having is rooted in that racism, believing that whiteness is superior and white people and their movement and everybody who signs on to it. It's not just white people believe this. Let's just be real about it. It's not just white people, especially non-white people who are also non-black. So brown folks who come over to this world who are then assimilated by understanding and watching how black bodies are being treated, then they turn around and do the same thing. There's another comment here that says two companies in Arkansas manufacture military weapons. The other is Raytheon.
Yes.
The other is Raytheon. So Phyllis Brown wants to make sure that we are aware of that as well. And then just want to make sure, you look like you want to say something. So
No, go ahead.
when you say we have to wake up and pay attention, Arkansas is also first. So if you say it's the 50th state, that's how they like to put it. Like we're 50th, we're last. We're the first in having the worst healthcare, maternal healthcare for people, particularly for Black women. So when you think about the Black maternal health rate in Arkansas, we rank first in having the worst. Oh my God.
Call you on the air.
Yes, you can go. What goes in here? Did you answer?
Yes.
Okay. It seemed like we still had some kind of difficulty. But now, my deal on this conversation is we have to remember they are calling the population. They said that area of Palestine was so big. When they want to give a warning, move out of the area before they start bombing. Now, our biggest deal, like I say, eliminate the white supremacy race because they are the ones that control sides of the issue. Now, when it looks have you got that picture? Do you think you can get the echo off?
We don't know how to do it. We don't know how to fix it.
It shouldn't be an
It's, everybody's saying it's an echo. I told you that earlier.
Now we have to look into the largest manufacturers of the guns and the ammunition. Like you say, every time I say something, going right back in my ear. The General Dynamics, the Olin Corporation, and all that. When we look at how much profit they are making from the gun manufacturing, this is something that when we follow the money, that's where all the money is going. While they're following the relationship. Anyway, I might get off the really in my ears with that. And I don't get anybody else that problem, but maybe it's just me. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
To all those who are having,
issues,
it's not.
I'm not hearing anything back on my end, so I don't know. I'm not going to try to speculate what's going on, but I can,
Well, I hear the hum loud and clear. That's
Yeah,
why
I can
hear the hum. I'm hearing the hum, but that's not an echo. So I don't know, but I can have it checked out. But
I think we should believe people if they say they hear an echo.
Yeah,
I don't think it's just because
I'm not down that they hear echo. That's not it. I didn't say that. What I was saying was that I didn't hear the echo, and normally if there's the echo going out, then I can hear it also. But like I said, I can have it checked out to see what's going on.
Tony. Can you hear him now? Now we can. Okay.
Okay. So one thing that still trying to figure out, is how the sounds and how the controls work going out, and it's a work in progress. So please bear with us as we get it all together. Okay. Yeah. So you have Raytheon and you have Northrop Grumman, and they are the producers of these weapons. But I also look at, when you look at the makeup of our General Assembly here in Arkansas, I believe they're a weapon too. They are making these laws, they are passing the executive orders, which to me is killing, killing the people of Arkansas. Whether it's through the education system, whether it's through kicking people off the healthcare rolls, whether it's money being given back that was supposed to be used for rental assistance. All these things. It's a weapon against people. And if you keep voting, or you keep putting the same people who are making the weapon that's destroying you, eventually you have to wake up and pay attention and just say, hold up, why do I keep putting people, why do I keep putting the bullets in the gun for people to shoot me?
Because if this weapon that you're talking about, if the ultimate goal is to make sure that we create a white nationalist country where white people reign supreme, then if I buy into that ideology, then I'm gonna vote for them every time. So we do know the answers to these questions. That's because that is the most important thing to us. Racism rules us in this country, in this world. That is the most important thing, to make sure that white people remain falsely superior. Like, you believe this lie. I want to keep perpetuating this lie. How do I do that? I do that by making sure that Black bodies and other bodies are not cared for in the healthcare system. I do that by making sure they don't know their history in the educational system. I do that by making sure that they are not receiving a living wage on their jobs. That's how I do it. So that becomes the ultimate goal. And until we wake up and have that conversation, we're going to stay in this situation.
And I agree. And I agree. And that's what I meant by waking up and paying attention. That
you don't connect the dots.
You don't connect the dots.
If you don't stop
If
and
you don't
see,
stop and
and
see,
you don't try
and
to
you don't
understand,
try to
and if
understand,
you just close
and
your
if you just
ears
close your
and
ears
just hope
and
everything
just hope
is gonna
everything
be
is just going to
okay,
be
I
okay,
think that's the,
I think that's the, I think that's the narrative that a lot of people live under.
And
And
so
so
that
that
has
has
to
to
change
change
in
in
the
the
minds
minds
of a
of a
lot of
lot of
people.
people.
And
And
when
when
that
that
starts
starts
to
to
change,
change,
then
then
you
you
can
can
start
start
to
to
make
make
a
a
difference.
difference.
You
You
can
can
start
start
to
to
make
make some things change. But it all starts with conversation. It all starts with waking up and seeing it for what it really is. And a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah, and that's what Phyllis Brown says. Yes, yes, yes. To create a white nationalist world. That is who we are, and that is what we have to be real about so that we can have conversation that moves us to action. I see you, Bureau Chief Patricia Rogers Ward. Good morning to you as well. Thank you for joining us here at the workplace on KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. And if you ask, especially white people who consider themselves to be progressive, if you ask them if they believe in a white nationalist world, they would probably say, no, of course not. They will probably say that because they believe themselves to be progressive. And so I think that when we have conversation with people, we have to begin to move beyond the superficiality of the dialogue. We got to begin to ask some different questions. We got to begin to go to some deeper places and not just let people say what first comes up and out because they are
Calling you on the air.
Okay, this is from Sullivan again. Now, it says all problems with questions and answers. Like you were asking earlier, why would we allow our tax dollars to go to fund these atrocities? And why don't we push the reparations issue? Again, people love to all. Help me with that.
I think it goes back to something we said earlier. Do they really want to give reparations? You know, I don't think they do. I don't think that's even in their thought process. I think California had came up with was doing a study to see what reparations look like in the state of California. I think a lot of times people, when they hear the word reparations, they think, they think of money. Money, how money is going to be given, how land is going to get, be given. But I also think reparations has to be looked at in a broader sense. It's a lot of things that can be done to help. I mean, one of the things that if you are a Black, you go to college free if that's what you want to do. Another thing is that if you're Black and you want to buy a house, no mortgage. You can get we take care of that. So it's a lot of things that can be done that doesn't necessarily have to be a money thing, but it could be a systematic that can be taken away, or a given that would help Black people. So I think that's something that must be looked at. But going back to your question, and I think it's been answered 2 or 3 times here this morning, Sullivan, is that if your whole goal is to keep perpetuating this colonizer attitude, this colonizer vision, whether it's the Middle East, whether here in the United States or anywhere else in the world, if you have this colonizing vision, then why would you want to help the people that you're trying to colonize? It doesn't make any sense.
And we don't. And I think we have to be careful how we're having this conversation about Israel and Hamas. I'm staying out of it. Let me just say that I'm staying out of the conversation. And one of the reasons I'm staying out of the conversation is because sometimes it is not just frustrating, but it is exhausting to me to talk to people about an issue for which they are ignorant and they don't know that they are ignorant. And so because they are not aware of what they don't know, then the conversation is spent going back and forth with you trying to educate and them resisting the education. And so many of us might want to pause, might want to pump our brakes on making all of these comments about what's happening with Israel and Israel being the chosen people and Hamas without understanding the history of the conflict, without understanding the root of the problem, without understanding the source, and without being able to extract your own theology from it. And if you aren't able to do that, then we really need to be careful about how we have this conversation, because it doesn't take long for me to realize that many of us are speaking out of turn. I just want us to be careful about that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because that was one of the things that was said on Speak Up last night, is that when you don't know the full history, when you don't know the full context, when you don't go back, and not just with Israel and Hamas, but with anything, if you don't know, as they said, a backstory, then you're only commenting or you're only talking about this front surface that you know. And so when you start to have a conversation about it, you can only rely on what you know right then, and instead of going back and doing the research, where you can have a broad discussion where it's not so much that you're picking sides, but you're able to ask questions about both sides and everything. And so I think that's a great comment, Denise, that people need to know, not just, like I said, not just between Israel and Hamas, but even here in this country, a lot of people don't know the full history of this country. They think they know, and what happens, they shut it down. Whether it's the 1619 project, whether it's African American studies, they shut it down because they don't want you to know. Because once you find out, once you wake up and pay attention to the history, then you can have that fuller conversation, and then you can see exactly what's going on, and then you can go about having the ability to make some changes, or to have your own thoughts about what's happening.
And so this is what Pat Rogers Ward says, Bureau Chief. We must start to ask the right questions so that those who think they are progressive can examine their true beliefs. We must start to ask the right questions so that those who think they are progressive can examine their true beliefs, which goes back to something Deidre said when she was on the show the other day about cognitive dissonance. We believe one thing about ourselves, but our behavior shows something different. And when we are confronted with this disassociation in our bodies, then it causes us to be uncomfortable. When we begin to be uncomfortable, the first thing we do is seek comfort. And how do we seek comfort? We tell ourselves what we want to hear. And so when you were talking about people who are having this conversation about Israel, they're basing it on what they know. I want to say they're basing it on what they think they know. And then the question becomes, where is that knowledge coming from? Because if you're watching TV, that knowledge is curated for you. If you're listening to CNN and MSNBC, the stations that are giving you the same message over and over again, no matter which one you turn to, you're going to hear the same thing all day long. This is curated for you. So this is information that we are being spoon-fed so that we can go out and deliver this message, and we are being used as pawns. So we need to be careful. There are so many other sources of information available to us now. We've got to seek that out. We've got to have different relationships with different people so that we can be in different kinds of conversations that push us beyond what they tell us, because what they tell us is only what they want us to know, because we are being used as weapons as well.
You're right. So we only got a couple minutes left in the show. Just want to thank everybody for calling in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments. The one thing we do have to do, and it goes, and we said it a minute ago, if you're not willing to put the work in to find out, if you're not willing to put the work in to research, if you're not willing to put the work in to get a better understanding of what's going on, then we will be continually set up to be fooled, duped, whatever words you want to use, and you're never going to find You're never going to get to that point where you can see exactly what's going on. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today.
Want to get this one last comment in before you go. Deidre asks the question: Israel is a nation for a religious sect. Where is our nation? And I know she's talking about Black folks because I talk to Deidre all the time. Israel is a nation for a religious sect. Where is our nation? And I know that is one of the questions that Malcolm X was asking and was pushing us to think about, because he was a Black nationalist. Like, where is our nation? And if we had a nation, do you think that they would fund us the way that they fund Israel? If Black folks had a nation, do you think that they would give us arms to fight when people are coming to us? Do you think that's what America would do in response to us, even if we had a nation? But the question is, where is our nation?
All right. So tune in on Monday from 4 to 5 for Community Voices. Down with that. Next Tuesday from 9 to 10 with Community Voices with Denise and me, and next Thursday for the workplace with me and Denise. Hey, y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. Rest of your week. We'll see you for Domino's in the Park tomorrow.